Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Troy, your host. We are live and recording.
Thank you very much, Troy. Appreciate that. Welcome, everyone. This is Wednesday, January 17th. The time now is 1:30 for a special business meeting to certify the mill levies from across the county. Let's come to order. And if you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, County Attorney, Counselor, do we have certification of the agenda?
You do. The County Attorney's Office has reviewed the item on the agenda. It is a statutory duty of the Commission to perform this action today.
Thank you, Counselor. Do Commissioners have any disclosures for any items on this agenda?
I have none.
I have none.
Nor do I. Moving on to the regular agenda, one of the more important constitutional duties of the Board of County Commissioners today, a resolution levying 2023 property taxes. Martha Marshall, Budget Director for Douglas County, Colorado, presenting.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Martha Marshall for Budget Staff. I'm here this afternoon with a resolution to certify mill levies to the state. Like the budget adoption, Senate Bill 23B-001 shifted the statutory deadlines for today's agenda item. All taxing districts must adopt a budget and levy taxes, just like the county did last Tuesday, and then they must go ahead and certify those mill levies to the county by the statutory deadline, which was shifted to January 10th. So the county then has 7 days till January 17th today to make sure that everything is in order, and then we hold a public meeting to go ahead and certify those levies to the state. And so that's the reason why we have a special business meeting today, out of cycle. So we have 329 districts that need to certify. All districts that were required to levy a mill did so by entering their data into the application by the deadline of January 10th. And so quickly before I get to the resolution, I do want to go ahead and recognize some other people that helped me with this. Kim Hirsch and Jen Bennett were big contributors to this process, as well as some folks in IT. Robert Liu, who knows our application inside and out, has been a tremendous help during all of this, as is Christine Lynn and Paul Matthews. So I can't do it without them, so I did want to go ahead and recognize them. So now moving on to the resolution. The resolution before you this afternoon is to certify mill levies to the state in accordance with Colorado Revised Statute 39-1-111. Per this statute, the Board of County Commissioners are required to certify the mill levies from all municipalities and districts within Douglas County. This is strictly an administrative, non-discretionary role the county performs each year. The county does not validate any of the mill levies. Douglas County's role is to compile these mill levies and certify them to the state. And by certifying these mill levies to the state, the Board of County Commissioners is levying taxes. So as I mentioned earlier, all municipalities and districts that assessed a mill certified to Douglas County by the required time. You have details in your packet. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Martha. Questions for Director Marshall?
I have none, but just would echo the gratitude to you and the team. Tremendous work.
Thank you.
Martha, thank you for the work you do in being really generous and thanking people like Kim who helped you get this done. When I looked at the packet here, it looks like just generally that the assessed value of properties in Douglas County, a little over $10 billion. Is that correct?
I'm not going to speak for that because I'm more focused on the mill levies, so I don't want to misstate anything.
Okay. I just think that each one of these pieces is part of the final answers. So that's why I like to dig into this and see all this. But it looks like the total valuation and revenue, this says, is $107,573,869,970. I mean, I can't even comprehend what all those, how big that number is. But I think that just shows how big this county is and how complicated all of these tax conversations have been for you and Kim and the rest of your team. So thank you.
I have no questions. I know that we talked about this extensively, even to the point of addressing something you had mentioned in the introduction of what discretion do we have to accept these or not. Obviously, we've had a focus on providing tax relief to the people of Douglas County this year, and I think I personally was a little disappointed that we did not have discretion in terms of what we could certify or not. So I don't think I have any questions for you, Martha. Any other questions from the board at this time before we proceed to public comment?
You know, I don't have any additional questions, but I would also like to recognize and commend this board acting unanimously last year in terms of the work that we have done with our mill levy. So it is something that this county pays very close attention to, and I don't want to speak for other counties, but I'm not sure any other county is as laser focused on taxation and the mill levy as Douglas County, and I'm proud to serve on this board with you, both.
Excellent. Questions, comments, Commissioner, before we proceed to public comment?
I have none.
Thank you. Let's open the floor for public comment at this time. Is there anyone who would like to come forward and speak in public comment on a resolution levying, certifying property taxes in the county? Seeing none in the room. Troy, do we have anybody online that would like to make public comment on this matter?
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. It appears I do have one gentleman with his hand raised online. His name is Ross. Ross, you're unmuted. Go ahead. Please state your first and last name and where you reside.
And yes, and I'll just clarify on the name. Natalie Menton, actually, speaking. And Jefferson County, actually, is where I live. And what I wanted to thank the Douglas County Commissioners for treating taxpayers with respect in regards to this complicated and dense issue about property taxes. I live in Jefferson County and can certainly say that I'm not receiving, as a property owner, the same respect up here. So from afar, I have appreciated what DougCo commissioners are doing. And thank you as you try to work harder for the taxpayer.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate.
And I'm going to actually, I'm sorry, since I probably still have a little time, let me express that a little further. Just in Jefferson County, to give you an example, we've twice in the last 5 years said no to tax increases, and we have Tabor in place here in Jeffco. Mill levy in place in Jeffco, which caps property taxes at 5.5%. In my county, instead of reducing the mill, the commissioners will be continuing to charge the most that they really can. Ultimately, while they've hired a political consultant up here in Jeffco to the tune of over $300,000 to try to sway voters to give up property tax protections. So even though you don't have Tabor down there because it was eliminated, forfeited years ago, and the 5.5% cap, I actually hope the commissioners, you all would perhaps explore restoring some of those caps. So in light of the future, it wouldn't be as dependent upon elected, and the taxpayers would recognize they have some limits in place. But at this point in time, I just wanted to again share with you, I appreciate what DougCo commissioners are doing. Thank you. Now I'm finished.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we had a little audio interruption, so apologizing for interrupting. But thank you for sharing your views and sharing. We certainly appreciate your kind words. Troy, do we have anybody else to make public comment remote?
Thank you, sir. I have no other online comment.
All right, thank you, Troy. Bringing it back to the board, is there a motion to adopt this resolution or further comment from the board?
Well, first of all, I would like to respond to Ross. I hope he's still on the line. We appreciate citizens who pay attention to what we are doing, and even citizens like you who don't live in this county and pay attention to what we're doing. If I could just take a moment to explain what Douglas County has done since our voters voted us to be out of Tabor, I think in 1997. What we do is we manage to Tabor. We have managed to Tabor every year since then, except for 3 times. And when we figure out how much money we have in excess of Tabor, we put that into special piggy banks so that we have cash to pay for projects. Right now, we are putting over $100 million into the Highway 85 project. I don't know where you live in Jeffco, but from Highlands Ranch Parkway into Arapahoe County, we've put $108 million, and some of that cash came from us being out of Tabor, but we've been very disciplined in focusing on spending those dollars so we can cash fund these projects. And yes, you're right, Highway 85 is a state highway. I think CDOT put maybe $8 million into this project, but citizens don't care where the money comes from. They just want their roads fixed. And so I appreciate your concern that into the future, there might not be commissioners or staff that are as focused on how to spend those Tabor refunds. But up until now, I'm confident that we have done that in a way that the voters of Douglas County would be very appreciative. So again, Ross, thank you for paying attention.
Yeah, and I would just echo my colleague. It's a treat, frankly, to hear from Coloradans outside of Douglas County, but I would say, Ross, you're not alone, and we're very pleased and humbled to hear from so many citizens statewide that really are depending upon their elected leaders to stop reaching into their wallets and to be sensitive to the challenging economic conditions that we're all facing. So as a fellow Coloradan, thank you for sharing some of your time with us, and I don't know, you sound like maybe a perfect Douglas County resident someday. So thank you for joining us.
Well, and again, thank you for the kind comments. Very much appreciated. There has been advocacy on the board to resume full Tabor controls. Those are obviously discussions for another day and another time. Colleagues, is there action from the board in terms of a motion to adopt this resolution, or would the further discussion be welcome?
I have a motion to approve a resolution levying 2023 property taxes.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? Again, I'll just reiterate something that we did hear Director Marshall mention, and something that was captured formally in the resolution. It's something I found to be disappointing that the board did not have any discretion in certifying these mill levies. And I do understand the counter argument that our job today should be ministerial. After all, these are mill levies that were adopted at lower levels of special district government or municipal government, all duly elected or legally appointed as appropriate, and yet at the same time, I kind of wonder at the logic of Colorado law that says those are mill levies that could be set at lower governmental levels, and yet it must come before us to be ministerially blessed without discretion. Again, another topic for another day, obviously to be discussed in another building. Any other discussion?
Well, Mr. Chair, I think you do raise a really salient point, and I know that in my brief time here, I don't think that we have ever, sitting as the Board of Equalization, made an adjustment to property values. And, you know, we were always under the impression that that was a somewhat ministerial function. So I have to applaud our county council and our assessor and many members of staff for, I think, the willingness to be innovative and nimble. And part of me thinks that we may be in the same boat right now. Not to upset the apple cart, but anything that does come before this board for approval, we are elected to have the discretion to say no, and we can do that. So maybe more conversation for a future time, but I think your comments are well taken.
I'll just weigh in that elected boards have made decisions on their budgets and how much mill they need to charge. And if citizens don't like that, then they have the opportunity to deal with that at the ballot box. But I absolutely think it would be an overreach for this board to tell other boards how to handle their finances and their operations.
An excellent discussion by the board. Without further discussion, we do have a motion and a second. I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And there are none opposed, and the motion is approved.
Thank you.
That is the business before the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners today. This is our only item of work for today, and we are adjourned.